Hey good people, hola mi gente, MsMalcolmHughes here. Welcome back. Today we're going to do something that I think is really fun. We are going to do a book discussion. This is where I answer the discussion questions either at the end of a book or related to a book. And today we are going to do a book that I've already reviewed on the channel. If you haven't checked it out, do so. I will link it above. The book is Dominicana by Angie Cruz. If you watched the video, you know I love that book. I reread it just for this video so I could have it top of the brain. When I did my video discussing my book bays, I didn't have Cesar in there, but listen, I remember when I first read this book, I was like, Cesar might be, you know, so he might not be a book bae, but he a book boo for sure. We're gonna get into it. We're gonna get into all of it. Having read it the second time, do I feel the same? We're gonna unpack it all. Without further ado, let's get right into it. So these are the reading group discussion questions from Flatiron itself, which is the publisher of the book. Question number 1. When Anna first comes to America, Juan buys her a ceramic doll at the airport. She wears a blue dress and a yellow sash around her waist. My sweet, hollow Dominicana will keep all my secrets. She has no eyes, no lips, no mouth. What does that doll represent in the novel, specifically about Anna's relationship with Juan? Such a good question. So even we see it a little bit when Anna and Cesar go to the World Fair and she's dressed up as a Dominicana. He puts the flower in her hair in order to sell food that she's made. And so many people want to take pictures with them and they both feel like they've lost something, but it's the caricature, right? Juan expects for Anna to be a caricature of what's expected of a Dominicana, just like that doll. He wants her to be there, but he wants her to be blind to what's right in front of her face as far as him cheating. He doesn't want her to say anything. He's very violent and volatile and abusive whenever he feels like it, right? His anger. So he doesn't want her to see, he doesn't want her to speak, right? He just wants her to be there and do what's stereotypically expected of women. Have sex with him when he wants it. Make sure he has a cooked meal every time he comes home. Make sure that she's handling the side business that he needs. Make sure that she just like is there to be seen and not heard, right? She can't voice too much. Everything that's required of her or expected of her is in direct correlation to his needs and not her own. And the same thing, that's like the caricature of the little Dominicana doll. You're there for the enjoyment of others and it doesn't matter who you are or what you have to offer. And that's what Juan expects of Anna or Anna. Question 2. Dominicana is set in 1965, the year the United States occupied Dominican Republic. Malcolm X was shot in Washington Heights. The World's Fair came to Queens, and Dominican baseball players made the national news. How do these historical events directly influence the lives of the Cancion and Ruiz families? Okay, I talked about this in my original review. I just felt like they had a lot going on at the same time. Granted, a lot was going on in the world, but like Anna was impacted by all of it. And it impacts them in multiple ways, right? So let's start with the first one. The United States occupied the Dominican Republic. That directly impacts Anna. She loses her brother. Juan has to go back. Everything is turbulent and in turmoil as far as investments that he has in the Dominican Republic. Malcolm X being shot. They live right across the street from the Audubon Ballroom. So though Anna wasn't inside to see him, she sees all the aftermath and it leaves an impact on her, right? And she has a connection to Betty Shabazz, who is there day after day for her husband, and just that loneliness she feels, that void. Anna really connects with that. The World's Fair obviously is a symbolism of transformation and possibilities, and Cesar and Anna, they really tap into that and what the future could mean for them. And the Dominican baseball players, it's a shift, right? Because Washington Heights is shifting. It's going from mainly Puerto Ricans and other demographics or Jews and other groups to primarily becoming a little Dominican Republic. So everything is transformational, and the baseball players who are really doing well, it's multifold. On one hand, it's symbolic of change for the Dominican Republic, them making a name for themselves. It also brings up conflicts within the races, and Dominicans are like, well, black people don't really like us, but they not to like push the stereotype, because I know some cool Dominicans, but you know, I always say like some Dominicans are like Dominican or bust, right? So it's like they don't care who you are. It's like as they say in the book, plátano power, okay? Like de los míos. If you not Dominican, you're inferior. And you know, it's just like Dominican pride. And so they really tap into that here, and it creates this conversation. Question 3. What particular challenges does Anna face as an immigrant? What about the challenges for Juan, Cesar? What resonance does their story have in our current political moment? What differences would they face if they were immigrants in New York City today? It's just hard, right? All of them are constantly under a state of stress and anxiety, not really sure what's going to happen next. Anything that goes wrong, it's like you are at the free will of someone else, and you feel that lack of control, and that causes everything to be heightened and stressful, and like any little thing to be tense. And I think that's still kind of on par today. So at any given moment, anything could happen, especially when you're illegal or without papers, and that is still very real. Even if you have papers, right? Like I've gone through it with an ex, and it's even if you have papers, it's still very stressful, and your life isn't really your own. It's stressful. And yeah, New York City today, I mean, New York City today would look different, right? The things that they're hinting at about like certain neighborhoods being predominantly Dominican, that has happened, right? So they wouldn't be as alone. They would have come in and been a part of a little Dominican Republic. 4. Family is extremely important to both Juan and Anna. How are their lives shaped by familial duty and expectation? What do they each sacrifice for their families? Ugh, and this is still true. Today, I find all of the Dominicans that I know to be very family oriented. And so Juan and Anna, they both are in a difficult situation because Anna has to marry Juan in order to help her family get out of their small town, come to New York, have a better life. And Juan wants to marry Anna even though he thinks they're small town, rural, backwards people, because he needs her father's land. So they're both sacrificing a lot. They both are in love with other people. Juan has a whole side boo who is married, who he's in love with. Anna initially has like a heartthrob, Gabriel, back in the DR, but she does eventually fall in love with Cesar, Juan's brother. And you know, they're all in this unhappy situation of loyalty and dedication to family, but with the sacrifice of their natural or their actual desires. 5. Anna calls Juan my monster and my angel. What does she mean? How is domestic violence portrayed in this novel? Her monster because, like I said, he has a very volatile personality, right? He abuses her. He chokes her out one time. It's a mess. Her angel because he did deliver her from the Dominican Republic. He brought her to New York. That was the family's dream. They're not living in luxury, but they have a home. She cleans it up. She not really, I mean, she don't get a lot, but her needs are met. If, you know, her needs are met, right? Like, he could do better, but her needs are met, right? She fed, not great food. She got clothes, not a lot. Like, but her everyday needs are met. Domestic violence is portrayed in the sense of like her being on edge, but it does change in time. Like she says, New York made her strong, and she learns to stand up for herself and fight back, but it's a situation she should have never had to be in. Also, the idea of what it means to be a good man, that comes up a lot too, because everyone's like, Juan is a good man. Think of that scene. He's a good man, Savannah, a good man, but like people don't know what's going on behind closed doors. And so he is a good man, but he does with her and her body whatever he wants whenever he wants. Not a good man. 6. The novel is told primarily from Anna's first person narration, but occasionally we see Juan's point of view, most intimately in his letters to Caridad. What does his perspective add to the story? Did it help you feel sympathy toward him? No. What his perspective adds to the story is that deep knowingness that none of them are happy. None of them are living the life they've chosen. They're all in this prison together. As he tells Anna on the night of their wedding that we're gonna have to make this work, and that theme comes up again and again, them having to make it work due to commitments they've made and the circumstances. Do I feel sympathy for him? No. I will say this, it adds some depth to his character and lets you know that he's capable of love and romance, but I don't feel sympathy for him at any turn. Like the background of like his struggle in the US, you definitely feel that, you know, no one has it easy when you move to a new country and you're trying to find your way. Innate within there are challenges. Understanding that he was poor, literally $1 in a dream is how he made it. But I mean, he didn't do great things along the way. He's sleeping with some man's wife while he's away fighting a war. He's taking in this wife who he like abuses because he doesn't actually love her, but then he gaslights her for sure, calling her his little parajita, his little bird, and it's a mess. Juan needs a hug and some therapy, okay? And he obviously has a deep need for validation from others, because he's always trying to get Anna to like, love me, tell me you love me, are you happy? But like that comes from a lack of like love within himself, because no matter what she does, because you could even argue like she should just feed into that, she should just da 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 and da 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 da, but like Juan is a ticking time bomb. You never know what's going to set him off. 7. Anna has very complicated relationships with Maricela and Caridad. Contrast these 3 women. What do they have in common, and how are they different? What particular challenges do they face as immigrant women? Do they think their behavior toward Anna is justifiable? Let's start with Maricela. Maricela is a fraud. So she comes over and she, again, gaslights or just preys on little Anna, who's so fragile and new to the country and is latching on desperately to a friend. She thinks she got a fellow Latino friend who gets her struggle. She needs a friend. It's just her in this house dealing with Juan. She needs a lifeline. And from the jump, it's a tricky situation because Maricela owes Juan money and she's paying him weekly, and as a result, Juan has Maricela's wedding ring as collateral. Now, Maricela, you know, comes in and she's like, oh, you're so sweet, you're so naive, playing that friendship card. And eventually she uses that to coax Anna into giving her wedding ring back, and says she's going to continue paying weekly. Juan doesn't need her ring because he has her word. Obviously not true. You can see the play from a million miles away. But Anna, being young and in desperate need of a friend, she falls for the okie doke, right? And Maricela eventually does give her some money with a note and apologizes. But on top of that, Maricela was also just false flagging. She was presenting herself to have a life and a quality of life that she doesn't have. And so maybe she needed validation. She needed that admiration from Anna. But in doing that, she crushes Anna, right? It really hurts her because she thought she had a friend. All right, Caridad. Caridad is a married woman who Juan is hooking up with. Also, Juan has been praying and scouting after Anna since she was like 12. So the fact that she's like 15 now don't make it no better. But whatever. He's been in New York hooking up with Caridad, who is this married Boricua woman. And she is lonely, right? Initially, she's in a position of power over Juan because she is able to select men from the work line to come work at the hotel. Juan being, you know, charismatic, as they say, having too much sugar in his mouth, okay, sweet words. So he eventually gets her to open up. One thing leads to another, blah, blah. Caridad knows what the situation is with Juan. He's seemingly very honest with her. So she calls the house and she don't say nothing. She just be on the phone breathing. And then eventually she pops up at the house once Anna has a baby, because Juan's like, yo, we all got commitments, you know, we in love, but me being in love with you got me unfocused, got me soft. I can't make you happy and Anna happy at the same time. She got my baby. I need to be loyal to her. You know the script. So Caridad's like, enough is enough, okay? I've been rocking with you for years. It's literally how she pops up at the house like, you think I ain't got no feelings after all these years? You think that's it? No, it's a whole to-do. They all have their different challenges, right? One, you know, people's husbands are off at war, they're alone, they're, you know, the idea of like having the American dream, you come all the way to this country and you realize that it's harder than you originally thought, right? It's a lot to do with that. So they all contribute to the story of the challenges that immigrant women face coming here, and especially at that time with the dependency on men literally being their lifelines. And then we see Anna trying to make her way without Juan, or have her own money and be independent. So it's all a part of the story. Do I think their actions are justifiable? No. Listen, I was taught this when I was younger, and I think it's true. There's a right and a wrong way to do everything, even the wrong thing, right? They could have maneuvered differently. Everybody understood the role and the position they had to play. Maricela was wrong for befriending Anna or making her think she had a friend only to betray her, right? Like, it was from a very selfish place, and I get it. She was moving from her selfish desires and what she needed, but she didn't even have to play Anna out like that. As far as Caridad, no sis. No, she was all the way wrong. If that's the position you're gonna play, the side chick, the adulteress stepping out on her husband, then that's the position you gotta play. That's the position that you chose. And with that, you have to play by the rules. Stay in your place. Occupy your role, right? You don't get to call this woman house, breathing on the phone, popping up because you mad because the husband want to go to his wife now. You knew the gamble when you signed up for this. You knew what came with that when you chose to play this role. So no, her actions were not justifiable. And I get that everybody has feelings, but you have to understand the decisions you make and what comes with that. For every action, there's a reaction and consequences. And I think Caridad handled that all the way wrong. All right, we have 5 more questions. I don't want this to be too long, so I think I'm gonna come back and answer the rest of them in part 2. So stay tuned. As always, I am MsMalcolmHughes, the one who believes that books are sometimes better than people. Until the next one, please remember to get time, be kind to each other, and have the best day of your life on purpose. Peace, adabo, adios, ciao.